Commence primary ignition.
I'm just not the hero type, clearly.
What a piece of junk.
Enterprise, this is the captain.
I got a bad feeling about this.
It's all part of the plan.
Engage.
Welcome back to Podcast 2 for 1. This is the second part in a two-part episode where we cover The Dark Knight with myself, Daniel Wingfield, and of course, Bruce Hutchinson.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and snap to that. And of course, if you haven't, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. That way you're up to date on all future episodes if you watch it on YouTube. If not, subscribe to all those podcast services and keep on listening. All right, guys, here we go. So now we're in the jail.
Yeah, so I'd say we're starting Act 3 now.
Yeah.
Now, would you say this is the final act?
I wouldn't.
No, I'd say there's an Act 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
To me, this is the most problematic
I
act.
feel like you could group this all in the final. See, because I feel like you could group the end of this act into saving Gotham's soul. That is the goal, the end goal of all their actions. Because when Harvey is the instigator of the act, and is Harvey and Rachel getting kidnapped, and I guess the only difference is that that's really not Batman's goal in the beginning. His only goal is to rescue Rachel at the beginning. But it's not, though. Because when he shows up to interrogate the Joker, he doesn't even know Rachel's been captured.
Yes, but I feel like, it starts getting complicated.
Because I feel like if you could group everything else that happens, the fight with the Joker, the fight with Harvey, in the end, they're only doing that to try and save Gotham. In the end, they're trying to they've got to get the Joker to find Harvey, because saving Harvey is how we save Gotham.
Here's what I think. Bruce, I want you to back me up.
Bruce, agree with me.
I think the third act, it's only 20 pages, 82 to 102. And I really think it's Joker driven. Like, Joker's the one, he's the protagonist in this act, because it's literally his goal is to destroy Gotham, Batman, and Dent. And because in this moment, he goes from being captured, because it's all his plan still, being captured to blowing them to hell. And like in those 20, and I think the act ends whenever he says this Gotham needs a better class of criminal, and he makes the phone call to the talk show and says, "I'm going to change up the game." To me, that's the beginning of Act 4. So I think that's why I kind of feel like Act 3 ends is when he burns the money for the mob. Where do you think Act 3 ends?
So yeah, this is tricky, and again, we are just putting what we think on here.
Yes.
So I do think there's 2 more acts. For one, there's still an hour.
Yes,
it would be a long ass third act, to be fair.
There's an hour left in the movie. I think Act 3 ends with the blowing up of Gotham Central, or of Gotham Hospital.
Okay.
Really?
Which is like page basically 110, right?
So what would you say the goal for that act is?
Yeah. So the goal for me is to foil the Joker's plan, right? But we don't know what the plan is, because the act starts with the interrogation of Joker, right?
Yeah.
So what's he up to? What's he trying to do, right? They discover the whole plan with Harvey and with Rachel. Now, I agree with you in the sense that from a climax point of view, the death of Rachel feels like it should be the end of the third act.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I'm taking, there's the death, there's Bruce dealing with it, and then there's the scene where basically Joker is finally talking to the mob, and then he burns the money, which kind of sets up the hospital sequence, right? Because he makes the phone call after burning of the money. To me, that's where it kind of, which is 20 minutes there. It's a weird moment.
I have a hard time feeling like it's this, because the beginning, the first, if we're calling it the first half of the third act, their plan, really the only thing they're trying to do is save Harvey and Rachel. Foiling his plan, the reason Batman comes back is because Harvey Dent is missing. And Harvey Dent is their White Knight. That is the moment that Gordon storms. Hey, I'm back with my family, and he gets the phone call. Harvey's gone. Right. And that to me is they're only focused on Harvey.
Right.
And saving Harvey, because Harvey represents, Gotham's soul.
Well, if you want to put it that way, if you want to put the goal is to sort of save Harvey, then I still think that the blowing up of Gotham Hospital is the climax of that, right? Because that's where Harvey is lost.
Yeah.
That is, even though they rescue Harvey, Harvey becomes Two-Face. I mean, I don't think.
Except that the whole scene's in the hospital where Batman's like, "I'm sorry, Harvey." He puts the coin down. Gordon's like, it's like, and even I think Batman.
but
someone
Harvey-
says they've blown him half to hell.
Harvey is lost when.
Yeah,
No, no. Harvey still isn't lost yet.
technically,
he's
yeah.
not.
No, true.
Harvey's lost when Joker sets him free.
Yes, and when the hospital blows up.
Right, because that's when. I mean, let's put it that way. Let's put it this way. I mean, Harvey isn't lost when he is. I mean, he may have psychologically gone there, but let's say that they go to the hospital. Harvey's all burned up.
Yeah.
Commissioner Gordon goes to see him. Batman goes to see him. If he dies tomorrow, actually nothing's
The soul of Gotham's fine.
exactly right because he's a martyr, which he becomes in the end anyway. So we know what that would be fine.
Yeah.
It's not until he's like, you know what, I'm gonna go start killing people. That's when we lose Harvey. And so I think that's part of, and that is the climax, right? The hospital blows up and everyone thinks that Harvey might be with Joker, but Harvey has just gone off on his own, right? They don't know where Harvey is. So to me, that becomes the big climax because then in the final act, we got a couple of things going on. One, of course, is that Harvey's running around doing his thing, which I think is a new thing. Another one reason why I put it in Act 4. Number two, I think the goals really crystallize at this point in terms of what's going on with Batman and Joker, right?
Yeah.
Because Joker drives the bus away, the hospital blows up, he drives the bus away, and now it's, we got to find Joker. Where's Joker? Joker, we're looking for Joker. Oh, something's going on with the fairies. And now that's the whole final act.
Yeah.
And everything with the fairies, right?
And I do think a big thing here is Joker at least voices his change in heart about Batman at the beginning of Act 4 would be, at first I wanted to kill the Batman, but now I realize the world would be so much less fun with, so I feel like we're finally getting, I guess, Joker's final form, I guess in some ways of like his antagonist arc, where he, at least if we're to believe he ever really did want to kill the Batman, he definitely doesn't now. Because he's kind of decided, I'm just going to fuck with this guy the rest of my life.
But even though I disagreed with you about the act, I actually think I like your goal, not so much saving the soul of Gotham, but more specifically saving Harvey, because I don't think I had quite figured out what exactly the Act 3 goal is. But you're right, Harvey's missing. And so
that's what starts the whole sequence of
exactly
the
at the beginning of that act. It's like, go home, Gordon, and rest. And then he gets the call and they go back. And so, and it's, where is Harvey? What's going on with Harvey? It's just that even when they find Harvey, they haven't saved him yet because they don't know what's going to happen with Harvey. So the climax, in a sense, stretches out.
I think it probably just feels like even his soul is lost at that point. Well, it becomes
a physical saving to him. They don't save him.
They physically don't quite save him.
They physically get him. He doesn't die, but he's in the hospital. And it's like, what's going to happen with this, especially in terms of this whole White Knight, all this kind of stuff. And it's when we see, because even when he's bitter when he's talking to Commissioner Gordon, and I guess when Batman comes in, he's still unconscious.
He just drops the coin.
He doesn't talk to Batman.
And then he talks to Commissioner Gordon, and we see that he's bitter, but we don't really know what's going to happen until the Joker comes, and we have that final moment.
And really, he isn't even going to do that until the Joker kind of convinces him to.
Yeah,
potentially.
Theoretically, he would just lived out his days in pain, or you know what I mean?
Right.
He didn't have a path forward until the Joker has that conversation with him.
Yes.
Now, what would is all the Rachel stuff? Are we that's just motivation then, I guess, for both Batman and for Harvey for future. But it's interesting because yes, the goal is to save Harvey, but in the middle of the act, Batman doesn't even care about that goal. All he cares about is Rachel. And he's our protagonist, right? When he comes out and he's like, who are you going for? Rachel.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I love that he changed it to he says Rachel, and the way he says it, you can tell he's like, fuck the world, I'm saving my girlfriend, you kind of thing. And so, it's kind of this weird thing where that's what starts it.
Yeah.
And then in the middle, Batman doesn't care about it. And then by the end of it, it is what they're caring about again.
Well, and goals can work different ways. A lot of times we have a character who has a goal and they pursue that goal every scene through the whole way, or it's really strongly structured. But in a lot of ways, goals are just signposts. They're motivations, but they're also just where we are in the movie, right? And like you said, saving Harvey is at the beginning and we lose Harvey at the end, and then different things happen in the middle.
Yeah.
And that's where things get interesting. Like I said, I think your assumption is, oh, Rachel dies. That feels like a big climax. But it's not really the climax to any particular goal. And interestingly, they don't set up an act goal to save Rachel. Sure. It really just is like within 10 minutes, Rachel is missing and then Rachel is dead. You know, it happens really fast.
Yeah. Let's kind of go back real quick to the beginning. I know we're doing this for a while
the movie,
now.
cool.
The beginning of Act 3.
It's gonna be a 4-hour podcast.
Let's talk about.
We're going to actually break the movie down twice.
Let's talk about the opening of Act 3, because in there we start kind of also seeing in more thematic things, right? So we have Joker versus Batman in the interrogation scene, and in there we have you're going to have to break your one rule. So basically, he's trying to make Batman come down to his level. Right. So
he's trying to show Batman that he's just
as bad as me.
And again, he has that one like, don't pretend you're one of them.
Well, so just to be clear, is the one rule specifically that he doesn't kill people?
That's what I always kind of. Well, he says,
because in what way is Batman going to have to break that rule?
That's because that's what Joker says. Killing is making a choice. He says this. You're gonna have to break your own rule. I'm making you choose, which is forcing you to kill someone. That's Joker's logic. He's
only weird thing there, though, is like if you kill me in this moment, they're both gonna die. Which I guess would be the ultimate fuck you to Batman, is that if you kill me, actually, it's kind of almost he's proven his own point against himself. You kill me, worse things will happen. I don't know. It's a weird.
No, I mean, I think it's just like he says it, and it's really the dialogue's fast, and it's happening in the middle of Batman punching his face, so it's kind of hard to follow. But he says something along the line like, choosing or killing is making a choice. Yeah, and so you're gonna have to choose tonight which you save, which you die, and in that you're basically choosing which one to kill. Is how he's.
If that's what he means, to me, that's really weak.
It's not.
What did you think he meant when he says,
I don't know. That's the thing. Like, I mean, I assumed that the one rule was he doesn't kill people, but I didn't know what. I just thought Joker meant it in a very broad sense, and I never really understood specifically what he meant, or like Rachel is going to die, and then he says Batman's going to kill Joker in revenge. But I never quite knew what he was talking about.
See, it says it right here. I'll just read it. Yeah. Where are they? Joker says, "Killing is making a choice." Batman says, "Where are they?" Again, very loud, all caps. And the Joker says, "You choose one life over the other, your friend, the district attorney, or his blushing bride-to-be." So he's saying killing is making a choice. You choose one life over the other. So I agree. It's really...
I don't know how that makes Batman break his rules. I mean, it
doesn't. It doesn't follow through, because in the end, it's still the Joker killing either one of them if either one of them die. Yeah. It's not, which is
there's no choice for Batman, really.
In the end, which is the same conundrum that, Batman poses to Harvey at the end. He's like, you're holding the gun, you're flipping, you're still making the choice to judge people with a coin kind of thing. Even though you're saying everything's fair, it's all chaos and fair.
Yeah, and you're right. I think it's absolutely what he's saying. It's problematic because Joker's basically challenging him. The only way you're going to win this is if you kill me. Yeah, but he's asking. He's kind of challenging him in the moment to kill me. But then he's like, but if he kills me, then they're both going to. It makes.
I don't think he's anticipating him killing him. But again, I just reread the line. Yeah, when Batman comes out, Gordon says, "Which one are you going for?" And then in the script he says, "Didn't know the risks." Which, again, him just yelling Rachel in kind of this broken emotional tone is so much more effective.
Yeah, for sure. And then, of course, we have as Batman is going to them, we have Joker, the I killed your friends moment, which is amazing, of course. And the part that really is
intercut.
To me is kind of really weird is there's a guy with a phone inside of his belly.
This is where everything really just goes off the rails.
I got to get my one phone call. And one thing that bothers me is when it's not even really all that happens, but when the bomb goes off, he's like, he was holding the guys, bomb goes off, and all of a sudden there's no cops or nothing. There's just paper flying anywhere, and it's like, did the cops disintegrate except for Joker? To me, that's so weird.
And also, it's like, they set up the space to be like, Joker's cell was like right next to the other cell, and he only walked a few feet away. Like, it was like, huh?
But it's just such a weird thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to go through my little laundry list here. So Harvey and Rachel are in this place. The timers are going off. So somehow everything that happens with Joker being interrogated times out perfectly to the things going off. He somehow knows that Batman is going to show up to help interrogate him. I don't know how he knows that's going to happen.
I mean, I do think that's if he kidnapped Dent, I think that's a fair, and Rachel, and at this point he is assuming that Rachel and Batman, whoever he is, have a connection. That to me is a little bit fair.
Maybe.
That he assumes I'm the Joker, he's been capturing, he's going to come.
I'll give that one
so,
to Joker.
So Batman's going to interrogate him. Again, the timings is all working perfectly. Then they leave to go do this. They put a guard inside of the interrogation room for some unknown reason. He in a kind of cliche, very easily baits.
Let's stop. I don't want to ruin this movie anymore.
Though I do love the line, I know you're going to enjoy this. I'm just going to have to try and enjoy it more.
Yeah, it's a great line. But still, he baits the guy.
Yeah.
In the script, it says he comes out with a broken piece of glass, which I don't know where that came from. In the movie, it looks like another one of his little knives, which just means that they're really bad cops frisking him. Yes.
He had 1,000 knives.
Yeah. And then, of course, we've got the whole thing with one of his goons having the phone sewn in him, and that this guy just happens to have been put in the same place.
Yeah.
I mean, there just so many things are now happening that it's just like
he wants this one phone call.
Yeah, and then that they give it to him. I mean, so much of his plan is based on this huge house of cards.
And also,
that has to work out exactly right. And this is what I mean by overplotted. You know,
oh, it's crazy.
You pull on a thread, and the whole thing just unravels.
You think, what if this didn't happen? The rest of the movie doesn't happen.
And we still haven't even gotten to some of the worst things that are coming.
Oh, I know. So he, you know, of course, he saves Dent. Dent gets half his face blown off. Rachel dies, and then Joker is free, which it's a great shot. It's a famous shot where he's even in the script it says he's hanging out of the window like a dog, which I thought I always thought it was kind of like just. I never thought that would have been scripted, but it was scripted actually. Kind of surprised me. But so that, and then you have going from Batman Morning to the classic. He's basically dismantled. Alfred's talking to him, and he's kind of giving Bruce a lecture of like, you spat in the face of criminals, and this was kind of expected. And basically, Bruce has the question of what happened to the jewel thief, and he said we burned the whole forest down.
Yeah,
which I love that. I've always wondered, how does that tie into how he beats? They don't
burn the whole forest down.
To him, how he takes down.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of framed like Bruce hears that and something clicks. But he never. Even the rest of the movie, he's just reacting to Joker. He never actively goes out and does anything.
No, I always kind of took it more as this is how. I mean, basically, this is what any normal person would do. We would just kill the guy. But it's just kind of more adding more layers of like, well, Batman has to be something more than just what everyone else would do. And to me, that's what I always kind of read from that. And it's not, I mean, I guess it's not super clear. You know, I just think it's just like an extra story element that just kind of stacks about. At the end of the movie, it kind of like, well, Batman managed to find a way where he didn't have to burn the forest down. You know, I don't know.
I know.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, makes sense.
So then our last sequence of the act, if you go with my setup, I think it's all the stuff with Coleman Reese, you know, which we didn't mention. By the way, just zooming way back, the whole scene with Coleman Reese and Fox,
the blackmail scene,
is great. It's one of the best scenes in the movie. We forgot about that scene. It's a great scene.
It's such a satisfying scene. Again, Morgan Freeman's delivery is just—he's
great in this movie.
But now we fast forward to Coleman Reese going on the talk show.
Yep.
Is that his actor name or character name?
That's the character
name.
Okay,
I couldn't remember.
Reese.
Now, again, we have, it's just the same issue, which is the Joker seems to kind of already know that this is happening, and it's like incorporated into his plan.
Right.
Because
exactly. You're right, because he's like, I've got all this set up. I'm just waiting on something to use for it.
And now it's like, okay, kill Coleman Reese within the hour,
everyone else had the fun, too. So it starts setting up this ticking clock. The hospitals going to explode. Then we also have, there's certain cops that are within Gordon's unit that have hospital.
Yeah. And he's starting to build his thesis that everyone is as crazy as he is. They just are pretending they're not. And he's trying to force the public to start acting crazy.
Yeah,
And
he's trying to corrupt Gotham's soul at this
And
point.
this whole idea of that there is a cop who's got someone in the hospital. Like, why does that have to be the case?
What do you mean, like in terms of like? I think it's just an extra. I mean,
You're talking about with Gordon in the car with Berg.
Well, because this is what springs Bruce back into action after Rachel dies, and so he starts driving around and he's talking to Alfred. And he's like, "Okay, we've got to find the officers who." But why does any officer need to have a family member in the hospital? And is the implication that Joker has planned that? Because Joker's just told the whole city anyone can kill him to keep the hospital from blowing up.
He's just trying to look out for Gordon because Gordon's probably not thinking about what if cops, like what if someone in the patrol car protecting him is someone that's going to kill him because his, like his wife's in the hospital.
I don't think for 1 second the Joker knows or cares that there's cops.
I think that's just a byproduct of what his plan was.
That's a symptom of everything happening. Right. I think Bruce is that's a symptom that Bruce brought up, and it actually ends up paying off.
The whole Bruce side, it's leaps and he on screen. I think he only calls out, "I see this guy, I see that guy," and then they all get in the car and they start driving, and they never get out of the car. And then the next time we pick up, he's like, "Send the names to Gordon," and they all pop up, and it's just like, how did you?
Well, and of the thousands of cops. A couple of them have people in the hospital, and one of them just happens to be in the car with Gordon.
That's a little. I give that. That's just kind of typical movie convenience to me.
And then, I'm sorry. I'm really tearing the movie apart at this point. The unknown person in the black Dodge Ram pickup that's going to crash into the car. How does he know who's in this cop car?
Well, it's weird because after he's leaving the talk show, people are literally shooting into the glass.
Yeah,
and it's like, man, would we really do that? Like, would people try to be blowing? Like, I mean, I find it hard to imagine a society where people immediately just within seconds, I'm going to go kill that guy because my so and so's in the hospital. Right. Like, it's possible. It's very movie.
Yeah, it's very movie.
It's very movie. But yes, whenever he jumps in front of it, and it was the funny thing of Gordon's like, "Did you know you were doing that? What a brave thing!" And he's like, "Oh, I was just driving." And
it's fun,
and it is fun, it is fun. But of course, now we get to the really big stuff. He does blow up. Joker does blow up. Gotham Hospital.
And technically, I know there's all those rumors. The whole it not working wasn't in the script. Like the whole detonator not working, really? Him shaking it. Yeah, which there was all these rumors of he ad-libbed that. I still don't think he ad-libbed it. I'm sure they just planned it on set to be that way.
Right.
But to be fair, it wasn't in the script.
Yeah, because there's even a moment where they had to time that out where he was doing this, and then he reacts.
Yeah. That's one of the funniest parts when
it's a great moment.
He's like flopping his arms, like, what the hell?
Well, I mean, he's wearing a red wig, and he's like, to the high, it's just like this funny.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So how did Joker manage to wire an entire hospital to explode? First of all, at all. And second, no one notices that it's happened. No one finds any of the explosives. And by the way, he mostly seems to use large barrels of diesel. So how does no one find large barrels of diesel?
Well, he says in the scene beforehand, it buys you lots of gasoline and dynamite. He says dynamite.
So even if it's dynamite, because you also, and again, this is just the way the movie wants to be visual, but the whole place doesn't go up in one ball.
It collapses.
It is going off in every room as they're walking down the hallway. Yeah. There's dynamite throughout this entire hospital.
There is.
When and how did this happen?
In every room.
When did he do this?
I would just assume the mob is loaded, and then therefore now Joker's loaded.
I would assume the mob owns the hospital. They always have dynamite in there just in case.
This is going to come up again in Batman Returns. But at least in Batman Returns, it took 10 years to make this happen. In this movie, he somehow has done this in a day, 2 days.
Joker's way better at destroying Gotham than Bane is. We know that. So.
He's much more efficient. That's for sure.
And since I'm mentioning it, he also puts hundreds of barrels in 2 ferries.
Yeah, with no one in the engine room.
How does he do it, and how does nobody notice that there are hundreds of barrels of diesel wired to explode?
The assumption is checking the engine room is not a part of ship trip prepared. So you don't even walk into the engine room.
And that the ferries are just parked overnight, allowing huge.
Also, and
gangs of people to,
Yes.
It's a weird
The
weird
whole thing
thing.
about him saying the bridge and tunnel crowd are in for surprise. I get it. He's a Joker. He's making a threat. Why didn't anyone think, oh, that's probably a trick? He's tricked us literally this whole movie. Everything we thought he did, he wasn't doing.
Well, to me, it's
maybe we
weird.
should check those out and make sure that isn't just a perfectly safe way to get out of the city.
Well, the weird thing to me is that when he talks to the mayor, Gordon does, and he's like, why do you want to save all the prisoners? And he's like, well, we need them all for.
you want to be stuck in here with them.
So there's literally like, I just don't see the logic of in any situation where they would actually save the prisoners.
And that
Unfortunately-
Joker anticipated, I guess his plan would work fine even if it wasn't prisoners.
That is
I
a
guess.
subtle. Yeah, the plan doesn't require the prisoners.
It doesn't. It adds an extra layer of like good versus evil.
But a little bit ham-fisted too, to me. A little bit of like
Potentially.
the prisoners that have already chosen. Like you've got these prisoners who are more noble than these common citizens because they're like, kill them right now, and the other guys are like, I'll do what needs to be done.
The one defense of taking the prisoners, and it's very subtle, is in Batman Begins, all the prisoners escape in the Narrows.
True.
And the Arkham inmates are all running around the Narrows. So maybe that's part of the thought of if everything is cut off somehow, we don't want to be stuck, with all these.
But I guess the only other thing I can think of is that if Joker has the power of the mob, that let's get all these mob enforcers out of here. Because if Joker takes over, then we've eliminated his army.
That could be too. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little iffy, but
yeah, it's weird. So
but yeah, this brings us into the final act then.
yeah, which the final act starts off with.
Now, what would you again the goal? I still feel like saving Gotham's soul has to be the ultimate goal because there's two bad guys in the sequence and there's two fights, really two almost two climaxes.
Well, I mean, in every Batman movie ever, it's always ultimately to save Gotham, and this one happens to be both physically Gotham because things are being destroyed, and also thematically Gotham because it's the soul of Gotham. So it's still save Gotham.
Yeah, I think Save Gotham is the goal of the movie.
Sure.
And you could probably say Save Gotham / Stop Joker, but you are right that Harvey is an added layer to that.
Yeah.
And
The only reason I
think-
say the soul is because
No, I like
there's
the
not
soul.
that many people in danger in this scenario. There's
I don't
two
know.
fairies worth of people.
It's a lot of people.
Yes, but I mean, it's a lot of people, but compared to usually when we think of saving Gotham, it's like Ra's al Ghul. He's going to blow the entire city up.
I know what
or
you
with
mean.
Bane, where he's going to ignite a nuclear bomb.
Yeah, but by virtue of not stopping Joker's going to be doing this a lot more continuously. So
Yeah.
it's like an endless supply of bodies, basically. So you're not wrong saying I agree with you. I think it's two. I think it's you're saving physically Gotham, and you're also saving Gotham's soul. But that's happened to be one thing. Like, you can have,
Yeah.
it's one thing.
Yeah.
Thematically, Gotham soul, physically Gotham. So
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have some great. Of course, the beginning of this is I have the fairies, and then we end up having little things like Fox and I guess we can just go through it. I might probably jump ahead. I was gonna say Fox talking to Batman, Batman saying I have this computer system set up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got, for by the way, just because we didn't really go through the specific sequences, I had 3 sequences for Act 3, which was discover the Joker's plan, save Rachel and Harvey, and then save Coleman Reese as the 3 sequence goals.
Yep.
So then we go into the final act. The first goal for me is to find Joker, right? And that's the whole thing. Basically,
radar,
with Fox and the technology and the great thing with Fox
Which
saying
adds like
he's
a
gonna quit and-
17th theme about about
Personal privacy and
right.
oh
my goodness, and we also don't know what it looks like because of that.
oh nice. That's all right. It's still recording.
Do we want to snap?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
It's still recording.
Okay.
We're just some silhouette looking dudes.
Well, as
Those batteries, those were both full
as the
batteries.
movie-
You want ugly light? Do you want me to turn on the overhead?
as the movie is getting darker, so is the podcast.
That's right. It's thematically themed.
That's what's happening. So anyway, basically, so there's this another theme here Brian brought up about basically, Big Brother, right?
Right.
And how Fox
The price. What is the price of stopping criminals?
Yes.
How far are you willing to? Which again, it's almost like that tying up of like, how far are you willing to go to stop? Like, what do you have to? What Batman says to Alfred when he's going to turn himself in? I've seen what I have to become to stop this man, and I won't do that.
Right.
And at the same time, he's almost becoming a different version of what he had. Like he's breaking other kinds of kind of moral code to
but
stop him.
He kind of fixes that later.
He does.
He fixes that part later, the part that we just brought up. So there's that moment, right? Where's that sequence end, though? The sequence ends basically with
him finding the Joker, I guess, right?
What I was going to say is I have to find Dent, right? So, I mean, it's...
when Gordon and Batman are on the rooftop?
Yeah, Gordon is, basically, give me 5 minutes. No, I got to find Dent. Or we got to find Dent.
I've got to save Dent.
I've got to save Dent. And let's give him 2 minutes instead. So I guess that coupled with, I mean, it's kind of all one big sequence, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, the sequence is literally find the Joker, which he does.
Yeah.
And he calls Gordon and he says, let's stage on the other building. Right. To me, that's the end of that sequence.
Let's do
That's
what?
when they plan to meet up on the tower.
Gotcha.
He calls, and he's like, okay, we're going to go on the building next to it, right?
And of course, while that's happening, we have things like the ferries.
It's intercut with the tension of the ferries,
and we're moving
basically.
around between other. So
Right.
it's not literally 10 minutes of just looking for Joker. It's
Yeah.
intercut with other things that are happening.
Sure.
And the next thing would
And
be...
Harvey is running around doing his thing. We're
which is
seeing
really
the
fun.
fairies. We're getting that set up.
I love Harvey's scenes when he's doing the whole coin.
It's amazing, the whole... He flips a coin for Maroney, and then he ends up buckling his seatbelt and says...
I love that,
He flips it
yeah.
again. He goes, this one's for him, and kills the driver. That stuff's great. That's like a
It is
great
good.
way to twist the coin, and kind of have fun things with the coin.
And also just have your classic Two-Face scenes.
Yeah, of course. And then, so the next sequence would probably then start with Batman.
Stop the Joker.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's him going, and that's everything.
The fight.
With that. Yeah. It's basically
Stopping the SWAT teams.
Which is kind of, I mentioned this to him, but the SWAT team, him taking them out is kind of almost prepping for Batman being a bad guy. But also they end up finding out that Batman is... That those,
They find out that the doctors are the clowns.
yeah, so it's like that's a small prep there of like this distrust between them. Then we're fixing to pay off here in a little bit.
It does seem a little odd that Batman doesn't have like a radio to communicate with the police, but I guess that's not something he really does, and they have the bat signal. So I suppose it makes sense, but it also always felt a little weird.
Yeah,
that
it
he
does.
couldn't just be like,
Hey,
the
Gordon,
clowns are
stop-
hostages.
stop
Just tell
shooting
them,
at
right?
me. So there's that, and then of course we're flashing back or cutting back to the ferry. There's the choice of everyone. We should take a vote,
Right.
and then the convicts are, you should have done this 10 minutes ago. Throwing out the thing, which kind of says that not everyone's bad, right?
Batman's thesis wins out.
Yeah.
Now this is interesting because I mean, like that's kind of their battle is to see what happens, or that the physical fight between Batman and Joker kind of hinges on what happens on the ferries, and like that's kind of.
I mean, no matter what,
the culmination of their theories.
Well, no matter what, Batman would have beat the Joker physically. The thing that Batman actually has nothing to do with is them deciding their fate.
And actually,
That's what I'm saying.
and I think that's actually well done because you're right. From a physically active, dramatic point of view, it would stretch credibility to think that Joker and Batman are going to be a fair fight physically once the two, once it's just the two of them, right? So they've done all these things.
But
to
it is nice again that the dogs are there.
Yeah.
The dogs were in the very first fight. And they're back at the end.
Yeah.
It's a nice circular thing.
But so then having the ferry and the suspense of the ferry is a nice way to allow us to move back and forth and not have to have like a forced 5 or 10 minute fight with Joker.
But the issue I kind of bring up here though is what has Batman seen in Gotham to make him think that they won't blow each other up? Like, he
I don't think he's seen. I think this is just him continuing his thesis that the people of Gotham are good. They need someone to look up to.
Yeah, but he's been not given anything to believe that up until this point. I don't think. I mean,
but I don't think he ever stopped believing that.
Maybe not. I mean, I guess. I mean,
I think that's a core belief.
Yes.
Yeah.
That goes back to the first movie.
That's why he's Batman, is because he believes all they need is someone to look to. They need a beacon of hope. They're good and underneath. They just need someone to show them how to stand up to the
what a
bad
movie though if they had actually blown each other up, man.
Also, all of the people he knows fit that. And so I think he believes that other people do too.
I guess at this point,
Rachel, Harvey,
he doesn't
Commissioner
know-
Gordon, Alfred, his friends are all good.
Yeah. He isn't. In this moment, he finds out that Harvey's been turned. Or
He doesn't actually know exactly.
Yeah. That's true. It's true. I just feel like it's. Of course, it's a movie. We're gonna have the hope come out at the end of it, So it's like, it makes sense.
But it's one of the hokiest lines when he's like, "No, you can see the people of
You thought people were as
they can be good."
You're alone.
It's also, I think, Bale's delivery gets more and more into the absurd
It
as the
does.
movie
It
goes
does.
on, where he's just like,
when he's just talking to people.
he just really gets the breathing going on hardcore, and it just starts getting like especially at his last like little monologue with Harvey, you're like,
But it's a great little thing there about joke the whenever the camera starts flipping upside down, which is amazing.
I love that cinematography
And
wise.
then you have that conversation about we're going to do this forever, and you're too much fun. So it's just kind of like this is where Joker ends up, is that I don't really care. I don't have any thesis. I'm just kind of doing it for shits and giggles of it all.
But the whole thing with him and Harvey, I just don't buy it. I don't
Are you talking about
buy
the final sequence.
No, I mean when Joker's like, well, my B plan was to corrupt Harvey, and you
Yeah.
guys had him as your like. It's like he literally was eavesdropping on their
Right.
conversations.
Right.
He uses the exact same language that Commissioner Gordon and Batman have been using about the White Knight
Yeah.
and the faith of Gotham, and he
Yeah.
says, "I've corrupted all of that," and
Joker's a better Batman than Batman.
I mean, he's like,
Yeah.
I mean, it just.
You're right, he does. Yeah.
It just strains everything to think that somehow, not only is he doing this anarchy, but he's also decided exactly what they've decided. Like he's read their minds, and then he's gone off and done this to Harvey just in case.
He says I brought Gotham's White Knight and brought him down to our level. So he says White Knight, and they've said White Knight.
And he
before
also
him.
does it in a 2-minute conversation.
Yes.
And
Which is a great scene. Great scene.
or he knows that they're in love, and he knows that he's got it set up where Rachel will die and
Yeah.
Harvey will live, and that Harvey will be super bitter, and somehow.
I mean, the big thing here is it really. He even says at one point in the script, I don't have a plan. I'm just doing.
I'm a dog chasing cars. He says it to Harvey,
But he's not.
He's not.
He's
He
got
has
a huge plan.
More
I mean,
plans than any
this is-
villain in any movie ever.
Exactly.
He has a lot of plans, but I don't think that. I mean, I personally don't think that he thought Dent would. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. He wanted to kill Dent first, and then I feel like
I mean, he can't know that Dent would become what he did.
he's constantly adjusting.
But
his
then
plan.
at the end, when he fails, he just is like, "See, I did this to Harvey."
Well, yeah, but, but
and-
that's just also the grandiose of the character. He's going to take credit whenever he doesn't even deserve credit. I feel like he's just crazy.
But presumably he doesn't know that that's
movie
happening
seems to attribute
either.
that he deserves credit. The movie perspective is that this was all him.
yeah.
The way it presents
I agree with
everything.
that, yeah.
Sure, I feel like he's just the character. Just like he tells his stories when he says, I got these scars. He's crazy. He's making up as he goes, and he's going to take credit for anything that he wants to take credit for. He's going to fuck
But
with
how
everybody.
does he know
Yeah.
that Harvey has gone around doing all this stuff?
I mean, yeah.
I mean, we have no.
The thing.
I mean,
there-
Batman doesn't know that he's doing it. How does that is?
Sure. He is taking a leap of logic, saying do some anarchy and gives him the coin. He's just assuming that he's going to go out and start killing people, and technically he doesn't know. He's making a lodge. I don't know. You could argue that because he does the flip the coin, and because of that, Joker sees in him that he's turned bad now, and so he doesn't really know what he's done
And not only that, but he's actually done all this in the
in the span.
in the 4 hours that since
Yeah.
they left him at the
Yeah,
hospital.
and also it's also all during the daylight too, so it's like he does it all before it gets dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So of course he says, and it's kind of where you get this from, where I got it from too, is that he says, you thought I would, have Gotham's soul hanging on a fist fight with you. In fact, I did it to Dent.
Yeah.
So that's when we end the Joker. Actually, is this moment. So now we're fighting the Joker through, trying to save Harvey.
Right.
So
Final sequence.
Final sequence.
Pretty
Harvey,
simple.
Commissioner Gordon's family.
Yes.
Batman.
This is a long podcast, guys.
No, it's
Yeah, I'm
2
so-
hours.
I'm sorry,
You guys
Bruce.
might have to release it in 2 parts.
we won't.
Probably not. No.
I guess we.
You know what? YouTube hates us,
Yeah,
man, because
faith
we upload
in your-
these like 2-hour 4K videos.
Yes.
We're probably half of YouTube's like data storage
We're fixing to
and
get
whatever their
banned.
servers are.
But yeah, so I think, man, we should do it in 2 parts. It's a good little conversation to have.
Probably after the
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah, probably. Anyway, I think that so we go there from also Dent is trying to figure out who trusts Gordon or whatever, because he has Ramirez call Barbara, and he says,
Well, that's
Which
happening
is actually,
simultaneously.
it's
That's
happened earlier
It
during
is.
those other
It
things.
is, but
yeah,
I'm priming
yeah.
up that he ends up taking Barbara and their son and daughter, and they're on this area now, and then Gordon.
Well, they're back where Rachel died. They're at the site.
Yeah, and then he gets the phone call to Gordon saying,
Which also, to be fair, like Batman was kneeling on that wreckage like maybe a day before earlier, whenever he's like mourning her.
Yeah.
And
now he has
it
to go
looks
back,
like a
yeah.
giant pile of fire. And now we have these like
It's like a building warehouse.
yeah, it's like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
it's like the bones, the structure of the building or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
Besides, that's an
I
aside.
never really thought about that actually. But yeah, so they're there and you get the three-way,
The Mexican
the
standoff,
Mexican
but without
standoff, right? So you
guns.
have these questions of, who deserves what.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, let's break into this.
Yeah, I mean, I always had a little bit of a problem with how easy Harvey breaks in the first place.
Sure.
But having broken, I do like sort of what happens here.
Yeah.
In the sense that he is trying to he's blaming other people for his own suffering.
Yeah.
It is interesting too, because Alfred has warned Batman of what happens when you poke the eye of the criminals, but no one has really warned Harvey, so
Yeah.
now Harvey doesn't know how to deal with all that, so he's blaming everybody else for his own suffering.
I mean, the mayor tells him you're going to have everybody come after you. He says that to him.
Yeah, but he says reporters, journalists,
Mobsters. He says
Yeah,
that.
he says
he
mobsters.
does say it.
He
Yeah,
says
he
that.
does say it,
Yeah.
but yeah, he obviously can't handle it.
Right.
So he's taking it out in a psychotic way, obviously.
Sure.
And to me, I like that, and I really like Batman sort of saying it was us, we made these choices, you were in on it too, so we're the ones
Yeah.
who should
Responsible.
suffer.
Yeah.
And I actually like that resonates with Harvey,
I
even
do
though
too.
he's
It's like-
mostly gone, but that still reaches him.
Yeah. Well,
and
he
so
says,
then they have
he says
But-
fair enough, which is the thing
Right.
that he says multiple
He
times.
says fair enough like
you-
the whole movie, which I didn't realize. Like, he says fair enough like almost the whole movie
Yeah.
at different times,
Yeah.
which was a nice thing. But the only thing I have with it, he's like fair enough. He points it at Batman, he points it at himself, and then he still points it at Gordon's kid. Even though Batman just got into convincing him is like point it to the people that were actually responsible.
Yeah, but he's not.
Not these people.
He's not.
I
good.
guess it just
He's not like he's. It doesn't have to be perfect in that moment.
And I mean, and it's emotive. Like when he's telling Gordon to tell his kid it's going to be okay. It's heartbreaking.
And we don't know. Maybe he was doing that to tell Gordon to say that, and then he's going to shoot Gordon. I would assume he's going to kill the kid, but
He was. I think, yeah.
Which actually was kind of weird because Batman ends up tackling him off the building. And what does the coin land on? By the way, does it land on?
It
good
lands
or
on
bad?
like the
Batman
ledge.
catches the coin.
No,
Doesn't he?
no, it lands on the
no,
building.
that's earlier.
That's earlier.
That's
This is
earlier.
it lands
thinking
on the pavement.
Batman Forever. Whenever
No, he
Tom
does
Wayne
catch the
joins,
coin
he
when
does,
Gordon's
yeah.
When
Harvey's
he's
interrogating the
Yeah.
crazy guy.
But yeah, so he tackles him off, which also is funny enough. He kills Harvey,
He kills Harvey.
Yeah.
This is my thing. He kills Harvey.
which he ends up breaking his one rule.
Maybe the Joker won after all.
and maybe
He broke his own rule.
Okay. So here's the thing. He kills Harvey, and we've got to believe that he didn't kill Harvey by accident. That is, he did make the choice.
Yeah,
right?
I think he's pushing him off a building, the assumption he will die. at the fall.
He's
Yeah.
trying to save the kid. He can't possibly save the kid and Harvey. He's making the choice to do it, and if Harvey falls to his death, so be it. Right?
Yeah.
Harvey,
Well, and he catches the kid.
yeah, he catches
Yeah.
the kid, saves the kid. Harvey dies, right? But then we have this whole thing with the final thing where he's got to take the weight of
Harvey's killings.
Harvey's killings, right? So here's the thing that I'd never have understood. Why can't they pin those murders on Joker? And you could say that Batman somehow, that would be unethical, but he just killed Harvey. I mean, he just killed Harvey. And it just seems so easy to me to say, like, oh, we can't say that Harvey killed those people. Well, just say the Joker did it.
I guess-
I don't get it.
That's a very good.
That's a great point.
That's a
Spike.
great.
I hadn't thought of that.
Joker's hanging over. He's still alive. You pin it on him or pin it on his goons. I mean, it just seems
the only
so
thing I was
easy.
thinking was that
Logically,
he
they
killed after Joker got caught. Like he was killing people after the
And there's
Joker
a
was
pr-
caught.
and
But
there's a
that's
pr-
not how it happens in the movie.
But there's a no. Joker gets caught, and then Dent says in the movie, "You brought your cops." He goes, "They don't know what the situation is. We only know there's a perimeter." And then
Yeah.
so at that point, I guess.
But what I'm saying
they don't
is
know
if
Dent's
Joker
there.
Dent has killed everybody else.
He's
that
already
he's-
done all his killings. If he had done those killings after the Joker was gotten
Yes.
caught, that works.
But I guess the big thing is that they want to pin Dent's murder. The whole thing is Dent's murder and the killings on Batman. That's the whole thing. Even though he technically does kill Dent, but
But yeah, I agree. I mean, I
They
don't
can- they
I don't
put
see
all
a
the-
reason why they couldn't just say Joker did it all.
And considering the lies they already tell,
You could do-
I don't know how that's sort of morally or ethically
I just figured
problematic.
out the one way that breaks.
If
Okay?
Joker's over here, and-
that's it.
and
Joker
Dent
has been
dies.
caught. He's in custody. The cops know this. So if they find Harvey falling off this building with his neck broken, how did the Joker do that when he's already in
But
custody?
then we only have Harvey's death to worry about.
That's true.
which is
We
the
don't
most
have
important
5 deaths to worry about, first of all.
One. Yeah, but it's still the most important one. The 5 ones don't matter. Dent is the one that
No,
matters.
the 5 do matter.
They
Because the
matter.
whole point is that Harvey did it.
Harvey killed all these people.
Right? And so that you can't have Harvey being, if they knew that Harvey had killed these people, then that would break Gotham, right?
Yeah.
So it's the other deaths that are important, not Harvey's. I mean, you can explain Harvey's death however you want. It's the other deaths. It's the people that Harvey killed. And yes, Harvey by default because he got killed trying to, do bad stuff. But
right.
the whole
You're right.
point is that they're trying to maintain Harvey's innocence.
Yeah.
Right, it's podcast.
Right. So why not blame Joker?
Yeah.
And I mean, it does. You have to come up with a lie for some reason for why Harvey. But let's face it, Harvey died because he fell off of a building.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's not too hard to explain.
Well, even if Batman took the credit for killing Harvey, it wouldn't taint Harvey's image. I mean, he did take the credit, but I'm saying you're right. I mean, the 5 deaths are more important because that shows that Harvey was bad.
I mean,
Yeah.
and again, they're yoking the plot to the theme.
Yeah.
Because to me, Batman, Bruce's internal goal is that he has to be willing to be what Batman,
Whatever Gotham needs.
Yeah,
it has to
exactly.
be
That's
that.
his internal goal is he has to be what Gotham needs and not what he wants Batman to
exactly.
be.
Yes.
And he finally accepts that.
Yes.
That he has to be he can't not be Batman. He can't
Right.
be the Batman he wants to be. He has to be the Batman that Gotham
Yes.
needs him to be. And he does that, and that's what saves Gotham.
Yeah.
But, it twists the plot around
Yeah.
to make that cool ending happen, right?
It's true.
It just
yeah.
God damn it, Bruce.
and it seems like the main reason not to do that lie is the ethical reason but it seems like they're already lying.
I mean, he's a vigilante. It don't matter. But
I guess the only
ethicals.
reason they could say that too is that the only other thing they could think is that Batman basically accepts the accusation. Joker
Joker could
Go
contest it.
but and whether they believe him or not, whatever, but the Batman will basically allow the blame to be on him and allow people to keep blaming him, and that's a safer lie.
I don't know. Blaming Joker seems like a perfectly great lie,
he's crazy.
and then you get to keep
just
Batman
crazy.
and Harvey, and everything works out.
Yeah.
And-
No, it's a bit of a muddy thing. No, I do say, I brought this up earlier, it wasn't something I realized till now. There is a nice turn on the head of the earlier phrase, you either live long enough to die, you either die the hero or live
Yeah, of
long enough
course,
to
it's all
become the
set up for
villain.
that. Yeah.
But what's beautiful is that they kill Harvey to make him a hero.
Yeah.
And Batman continues living to be a villain.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's,
it's
you know what I
great.
mean?
No, it's
Like,
amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a
they've
great
set that
little-
up. That's nice.
Yes.
I think I figured it out though. Actually.
Okay.
Please.
I mean, they
Please
make
fix
this.
it for me. I'm
so,
gonna cry
So
here.
here's my explanation. No, you're still gonna cry. So what happened is Harvey falls to his death. Batman and Commissioner Gordon are like, what are we gonna do? All the police are outside. We got to figure out what this thing is gonna be. Batman's like, I'll take it all on me. You blame all the deaths on me. It's fine. Off he goes running, and then Gordon's like, okay, we got to stick everybody after him. And then Batman's running, and everyone's after him, and he's like, oh shit, we could have just blamed it on Joker.
No, also,
But it's too late.
The other thing
the
that
commissioner
supports
told
that.
everyone that I did it.
Yeah.
The other thing that supports that is Batman also falls off the building and takes a hard fall.
He literally falls.
He may have landed more on his head than we thought.
Yeah, it's true.
You know
That's
what I'm
true.
saying?
Yeah.
He may have had a concussion at the time. I mean,
Yeah.
he made the decision under duress.
So
Donovan's
I
just
know we have
staring
to start
over you.
wrapping it up. So this is my thought. I still enjoy watching the movie.
a
I
hell
think
of a
it's got great action. It looks great. The acting is great. And I think the metaphor I came up earlier for me really works. It's like a house of cards, like it looks great and you can watch it and it's great. But the moment you start thinking about everything that's holding it all up, it really, in my mind, just all kind of falls apart. because
Yeah.
it's so overplotted, because
It
there's
is.
so many things that have to happen exactly the way they happen, and there's so many things that are happening to fit the theme of the movie rather than sort of the natural progression of the plot, that it all looks great. Or maybe another metaphor would be like that house that you want to buy. It looks perfect and you buy it, but then you go and inspect it and
Yeah.
it's all rotting on the inside. I don't know.
No, that's valid.
So-
I don't know. I wouldn't feel that strongly. I feel like, again, kind of what we were talking about last week too. The highs of this movie do a lot to, like, I would tell Donovan earlier, I think Heath Ledger's performance is in my opinion, and I've been thinking, the best performance in a superhero movie ever. Like, it's hard for me
I haven't thought about that, but
to say that, is there any single performance in a single movie that eclipses or even gets close to him? Maybe Joaquin's Joker could be in the discussion at this point, just because it's another kind of very big.
I'd vote for Heath Ledger on that one.
I would too, personally. I personally would too.
I have some problems with the Joker movie, but
it's the scenes that are his are I was telling Donovan too, I think the best scenes in the movie are all Joker scenes. I think the best
they're pretty
entertaining,
alive.
just good scenes are Joker scenes.
Yeah.
Him introducing himself to the mob, him showing up to the party, Batman in his like interrogation scene. He steals the show so evocatively. And even I would say even him with Harvey at the hospital at the end. Those scenes are so good. And I feel like I buy it. They make me just buy into his character so fully that I'm like along for the ride completely.
Well, you're not wrong. I mean, it's great. I mean, he won an Academy Award for it. I mean, posthumously, as they say?
Posthumously, I think.
Posthumously. I mean, who knows what would have happened. And we do know that Christopher Nolan, I think, has said that he would have been the villain. He would
have been in Dark
Knight Rises. Yeah, it'd have been a base. He would have been a big part of it or some part of it. Yeah, I mean, it's sad to think of all that stuff. He did a great last performance, and at least, I think there's one more movie after that came out after
that he'd acted in. I think you're right.
Yeah, I'm not sure he acted before or after, but it came out after.
He had been in the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus that Terry Gilliam had directed, but
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Died in the middle of that, and so
Right.
they got Johnny Depp and
I
forget one or two other actors who played the same character, and he was just like different versions of the same person. But
really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know that actually. But yeah, I mean, I think the movie at the end of the day, God damn it, I'm so mad right now. I love the movie, of course. I mean, that's one thing I don't like about doing this kind of stuff is that you start poking at it, and now when you watch it,
Listen, Donovan, you can love flawed things.
Yeah, I know.
It's not a flaw to love flawed things.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
I think
No,
that's the right way to put it.
I mean, the end of that, the last shot of that, I told him I think is one of the best last shots ever in a movie. When him going up the tunnel, it's just so fucking cool hearing him say
the silhouetted him up the ramp. It's great.
Not the hero we deserve, but the one we need right now. And he does these corny things to his kid. And he says, "The Dark Knight." Like that's just so cool. That's badass.
It is good.
You know? You can. It's a movie.
Again, it's maybe one of the most entertaining superhero movies. I mean, just the nonstop action, the tension. This has more kind of it even has horror elements almost at times. Just kind of like the thriller, and the Joker is much more like dark, scary character than we usually get in superhero films.
Like I told you this earlier, the way they cut off music, like you have like strings.
Yeah, they did these like real jump cuts or jumping from one scene to the next. Jarring.
They don't use sound bridges or anything and cuts. A lot of times they just kind of have these abrupt like cuts, and it's just kind of jarring and kind of gives you like on your edge. And no, I mean it's still a great movie.
And we also have to remember it is a groundbreaking movie. When we think about comic book superhero type movies, even with that comparison to Superman we were talking about earlier, I don't think we ever had one that was as ambitious about its thematics and its realism and those kind of issues. It did completely change what we thought comic book type movies could be.
Everyone started doing dark and gritty. That was the word, gritty, dark and gritty.
This was like the moment that Christopher Nolan his name became what it was.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Because before this, Batman Begins, yes, The Prestige, yes, but I think Prestige is maybe his best film. But it didn't get the popularity that in The Dark Knight, and I was talking to him earlier, I think that in fact hurts The Dark Knight Rises pretty hard because I think when The Dark Knight came out, everyone was like, okay, he's the god now.
Right.
Especially of Batman movies, but of movies.
Yeah.
And then Inception comes out in between The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, which solidifies more his like a master storytelling ability. That the for me, I know the expectation for The Dark Knight Rises after this movie were astronomical.
Yeah.
And that isn't fair to the movie necessarily, but that's how much this movie impacted me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, and the flaws of this over plotting. I mean, it's not like it was the only movie that had those problems. You know, I had mentioned the comparison to
Quantum of Solace,
Skyfall.
Skyfall.
Sorry.
Yeah, and actually,
Quantum of
if you look at
Solace.
Skyfall, it has the exact same problem as well with oh gosh, what
Javier
is
Bardem.
Javier Bardem's bad guy, including getting captured on purpose. Right.
Yes. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
Another movie that's completely overplotted and depends on the bad guy having predicted 10 things in a row happening exactly the way they do, you know?
It's probably actually a little less outrageous than Skyfall compared to this movie that we've broken it down.
And so maybe I think we can look at maybe some certain movies around that time period where that kind of approach to writing maybe became sort of popular.
I mean, it's fun trying to figure out what they're going to do and being surprised and all that kind of stuff. I just think, up until today, when you it's still fine, but then you start breaking out. You know, most people don't watch movies more than once, and it's maybe if it's really good, more than twice.
Yeah,
and they definitely don't do what we're doing now. You know,
of course, I did have a fair number of these things after I came out of the theater the first time, which is why I had such mixed feelings about the movie, because on the one hand, it did all this great stuff, and on the other hand, it was so frustrating. And I do believe that there is a way to have made that movie where it didn't have all of those problems.
Yeah, of course.
In which case, it would be, to me, I think it's a really good movie and groundbreaking, but it could have been a couple of notches even better.
Yeah.
But I can't
But
wait.
it still
Could be on the Criterion Collection.
That's right.
I can't wait to. It still might one day. I can't wait to tear into The Dark Knight Rises, because that movie's got some.
Yeah, that'll be interesting next week.
It's got some big.
Now,
I think it's like big plot holes and stuff. All these little baby mini ones that Dark Knight has. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's weird.
Now,
We'll
I
get
think
into
we
it.
should, and I really, it's good that we literally only have like 9 minutes left on our card of recording time of 4K video. That's a lot of gigs.
Yeah.
Guys, my export time is going to be, wow.
All
And
weekend.
that file, it's going to be a 50 gig file.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I want to save our ranking discussions for after the watching the last one, because I think
yeah, that's fine.
honestly, I need time to process all this.
I know.
That we've been talking about The Dark Knight in order to kind of
Yeah.
reevaluate even how I'm feeling about
I'm
it.
literally sick to my stomach right now, so I don't want. Yeah,
To be fair, you did have a questionable lunch.
that is true. Yeah, that's probably most of it.
Before we wrap up, I want to
Please.
on air or whatever on
On
whatever
On air. We'll
the
get there in a
web.
on
second.
video
Yeah.
challenge the three of us to a Bane competition.
The Voice.
Yes.
Oh,
So,
please.
So next week,
Oh, I'm ready.
Next week we'll all do our best Bane, and
Yes,
then
of
we'll
course.
see who's got the best one.
I literally. It sounds like you've been practicing for a long time.
I know, this feels like a Joker thing. We're like, let's come up with a contest that I've been practicing for years for.
I used to do it, and I haven't done it in a
Yeah,
while, so I'm going to
yeah.
practice it this week. so.
I've done it,
It's,
but I mean,
it's
it's
weird
very
because
good.
his voice, it's almost one of the easiest voices to mimic just because it's so weird.
It is unique.
You
and
have
weird,
to
yeah.
like, there's no accent that sounds like it or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, he actually based it off one guy, I believe. But that's next week's conversation.
So we'll do the Bane
Oh
competition.
man, it's a lot, guys. Well,
Right.
yeah,
I hope
we
you
did
guys
it.
still like the movie.
Yeah,
I do.
I hope you're still.
I do,
I hope you're still
personally.
listening. That's my
Yeah.
concern.
I
so
mean, if you
Daniel-
are, maybe you're actually, a filmmaker. You'll make it someday.
There you
Everyone
go.
else?
There you go. It separates you from the losers. And
Yep.
Daniel, how can our listeners write into us?
They can write into bit.ly/241mail. There, you can tell us why this podcast was so goddamn long,
and why I'm wrong about all the complaints that I
honestly, I would love for someone to write us an essay arguing against all
Please.
this. Because
Sure.
I just
God.
want to know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, as of right now, I agree with Bruce. There's a
Me
lot
too.
of plot holes.
Yeah.
but I can be convinced.
I want to be convinced. I want to be convinced.
I'm sitting here like,
Prove
I'm
us
wrong.
wrong, guys. Maybe that needs to be the title of this episode is The Dark Knight not as good as we thought it was. And then we'll get lots of feedback because everyone will
That's
hate
how
us.
we'd actually become giant YouTube people.
Yeah, say
those kind of
say
thumbnails.
controversial opinions that we
Yeah.
actually don't think.
Yeah, so
you can write in there and do the things. Okay.
yeah, and for all your other podcast needs, go to podcast2for1.com and make sure to follow us on all the platforms: iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, all those things, and of course follow us on all of our social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and of course TikTok. We don't do Snapchat, so don't even be looking over there. Yeah, that's it.
Guys, this has
been
been
my
2.5
my-
hours.
my-
I love
my-
it.
my brain
Longest
is-
episode to date. We have
It's-
eclipsed.
it
We
is,
had
yeah.
a 2-hour Last Jedi, or no, sorry, Rise of Skywalker was 2 hours. And we tore that movie to shreds
Now
in that 2 hours.
I want to do what that movie what we did to this movie now.
Oh my God, if we broke it down by acts and sequences.
No.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for listening to the episode.
It was a good one.
It was a
I
very-
really enjoyed what you said about how the Joker is really a Freudian metaphor for Batman's dick. That was maybe my favorite
That is
insight that
Yep.
came out of it.
that,
Yeah.
that's what
I never
my-
thought of the Joker as being a metaphor for Batman's dick, but now I do. Now it's
Say,
the only
can you
thing
say
I
it
think
one
about.
more time?
Yeah, it was a great metaphor about the Joker being. I don't know, but kind of lost it. I'm just gonna pass it back to you.
Thanks. And make sure you hit that subscribe button below and that notification bell. That way you're updated on all future episodes. And speaking of future episodes, we have, I think we mentioned doing the whole trilogy. And this will be the last episode in the Dark Knight trilogy podcast segment
Because we were just going to pretend that the Dark Knight Rises doesn't exist.
yeah, well,
Because it doesn't.
unfortunately, we due to technical difficulties, we don't have the episode no longer with us. So
It was moved on.
you're going to have to imagine all the thoughts we had. In some
Please send thoughts and prayers.
in some episode, I believe the Xbox Game Showcase episode on YouTube exclusively, we talked about our thoughts on that. But real quick to recap, we think real quick, Bruce said it was his favorite of the trilogy. I enjoyed it, even though it has problems, and Daniel shit on it a lot.
I did, yes.
And we also come to the conclusion that we think it's overall still a great trilogy, but there is yet the best is yet to come with Batman in the future. We think that it can be outdone. But hey, it's unfortunate we lost that episode, but we will have Bruce back very soon to record more script breakdowns where we kind of do what we did with The Dark Knight, but maybe some other blockbusters or maybe some more nuanced films.
We're going to do a bunch of French films none of you have heard of.
Yeah,
You're going to love it.
we probably won't
You're
do
gonna
that, but
love
if you're
it.
interested in that, check
better
out Our House
fucking love
Garage by our friend Andrew Sweatman.
That's true.
Over at Our House
It's a
Garage.
nice little pimp right in the second.
It was. There
I
you
like
go.
that.
Hopefully, if he listens, he'll appreciate it. But anyway,
better
thank you guys for
fucking listen,
listening.
Andrew.
Again,
You better
if you want to write into us at bit.ly/2for1mail. That is bit.ly/2for1mail. You got too many dick things happening over there. And then on top of
So
that,
love you.
again, hit that subscribe button. It shows your love and support if you're on the YouTube channel. And we'll see you guys next time. Again, we have spoken.